Good morning, everyone, and good afternoon to Mr. Marcel over there in Holland. Welcome to the Thursday, December 31st edition of the MMAOB Daily Podcast, the final MMAOB Daily Podcast of 2020, the last show of the year. Marcel, first off, Marcel, Happy New Year's, man. I know it's a little bit early. It's about 4 o'clock there in Netherlands right now, but I know you'll probably start your partying a little bit shortly after this podcast. So, Marcel, how's it going, man? And welcome back to the show.
Yeah, Happy New Year, Adam. Yeah, great, man. I mean, got like 12 days off now, so it was last day at work today for me. So that's great. It's awful weather outside, so I'm happy I'm inside right now and looking forward to talk some MMA with you last day of the year.
Yeah, me too, man. And I just want to say, like, I've had some really good feedback from people lately about you, Marcel, and I love having you on the show. So if you want Marcel on more, guys, just tell him you want him back, and tell me you want him back, because I think we have good chemistry, and I want him on, as much as we can. So just let Marcel know and show him some love. Marcel, we got a lot to talk about today, man. I wanted to go through all the awards with you, and I do want to get to that, but I think we should get to RIZIN first because it took place this morning. Now, before I get into the card, I just want to give you the floor for a minute here because I know you had some thoughts about the whole thing on the Mortal Kombat show the other day with the comments made by a certain journalist. I did touch on this with Cole the other day on the podcast, so I don't need to rehash my thoughts on it. But I really would like to get your thoughts, Marcel, on it, because I feel like those guys were they really didn't appreciate the card at all and didn't appreciate the fighters, and it bothered me. So I'd love to get your thoughts on those really just rude and disrespectful comments.
Well, it's kind of weird to me, man. I mean, if you don't know anything about the card, just don't talk about the card. I would say, just say like, I haven't been into it. I haven't really watched it, so I don't know. They know Kyoji Horiguchi. I mean, they probably know Takitori Gomi. They could say like, yeah, looking forward to that one. If they don't look forward to that, they can say that as well. But it's kind of weird. Talk was that, and also, man. That guy blocked my boy JHK. How dare you?
That doesn't make sense. And John Hoko is one of I think the best up and coming journalists, and I don't think he made a wrong comment out of line.
No, not at all.
Yeah, that was really disappointing. The whole way that was handled by both those guys, extremely disappointing. I'll tell you right now, dude. If I said that, I wouldn't expect to be doing the show tomorrow. You know what I mean? Like I would expect to be fired for my job. So I don't understand how people can just make these rude comments and quite frankly racist comments in 2020, Marcel, and just ignore them and just block people when they try to critique you. That's really sad. So I want to give my thoughts. Just give you any more thoughts on this, Marcel? Before we go
just didn't make sense to me, man. It was unnecessary, So
it was super weird, dude. It was super weird. Like he didn't need to bring it up. So I'm with you completely. But you know what? Like, listen, those guys they were jerks. They were straight up jerks, or one of them was, anyways. I should say, to be fair. But we're not going to be like that. We respect all the fighters here on this podcast. This is, again, why I love Marcel on, because he's like me. He loves the sport. Anyone who's watching this loves the sport. So let's get into RIZIN 26. And I should say, I wrote an article about this card. I didn't watch the card. I'll be completely honest. I only saw the main event, Marcel. I wasn't able to get up early enough, unfortunately. But if I didn't know about the card and I didn't know the fights, I would have just not talked about them. You know what I mean? But I did actually do the research, even though I guarantee you I didn't make as much money for the article I did that those guys did for their podcast. I still did the research for it myself. And from what I saw, it was a pretty good card. Again, I didn't see the card, guys. So if you did watch it this morning, please send it in. I got to be honest, man. I used to stay up all night and watch the Pride Dream events and everything. I can't do it anymore. It's very difficult now. I mean, I'm only 32. I'm not super old by any means, but I have other things right now going on. So it's difficult. I did want to watch it. But I did see the main event. I did see the Horiguchi fight, and I did pick him as a small favorite. He was only a minus 150 favorite, Marcel, very small favorite. Picks up the first round knockout over Kai Asakura in the rematch. A lot of people were talking about the first fight, and it was a very big upset. I was very surprised that happened last year, Marcel. And I know Horiguchi he missed a whole year with some injuries and stuff, but to me, I still think he's one of the best flyweights in the world. I've thought that for a long time. I was still a little upset when he left the UFC a few years ago. I don't blame him for going to RIZIN. He's from Japan, obviously. He's got his family there. It makes sense. They're probably playing him really well. But this is a top 3 flyweight in the world. And I think a fight with Figueiredo would be a lot of fun. But I just want to hear your thoughts on this fight with Asakura this morning where he knocked him out.
If I think about Horiguchi, I also have to think about putting him in a fight against Ali Bagautinov on the preliminary card with a main card that wasn't even great back then in the UFC. So that kind of makes me crazy if I think about it. But yeah, I also only saw the main event, so I was just in time home to see that. I gotta say, man, I'm pretty disappointed in RIZIN with their broadcast deal over, for non-Japanese viewers. I mean, I was pretty happy with Fight TV. It cost like $20, I think, for the New Year's Eve, but it was quality fights, man, and I really liked it. I bought it last year, you know. Couldn't buy it this year, same because it's not on Fight TV anymore, and on the same way I had to work earlier this morning, so I couldn't watch it. So yeah, I think it was the fight I saw, the main event. I think very well done by Kyoji Horiguchi after a pretty severe injury. Comes back, takes back the title. He vacated. He lost to Asakura the first time, so yeah, very, very well done by him. And I've always been a Horiguchi fan, man. Guy is good, very solid. I remember when he fought DJ for the belt, he actually said before, like, I'm not ready for this, but I will try to do it. And I think he has improved so much, man. It's such a shame he left the UFC. And on the other hand, good for him. He's making his name in RIZIN. He also won in Bellator against Darian Caldwell as well. So yeah, what can I say, man? He's a good fighter. In the back of my mind, I still hope maybe he can return to the UFC and do some work over there. But he's at RIZIN now. Probably, maybe will go back. Maybe will fight for Bellator again. Who knows? You know, you never know. But
yeah. No, he's great. I mean, I'm just looking at his record right now in the UFC. Actually, no, let me pull it up here really fast here. I don't want to have the page open too long, but I do want to look at his record with you just because it's phenomenal. Look at it. Hey, look at this. Before he left the UFC, so he was, pretty highly touted prospect coming in because he had some nice wins. Like Ian Loveland was a UFC veteran when he beat him. Gets to the UFC, knocks out Dustin Pig. That was the Kane and JDS card. That was the first one he fought, the trilogy between those two guys. This one, and then he picks up 3 wins. Fights DJ. That fight was a blowout. It was in Montreal. It was a terrible fight. He won by submission or lost by submission in the last second. After that, look at this, Marcel. He won 3 fights and they cut him. They let him go. Or they didn't cut him. They didn't resign him, I should say. I don't think they cut him necessarily. Look at this since he left. 10-1. 10-1. Champion in RIZIN. He was a champion in Bellator, and I believe he vacated his title because basically he didn't feel like he was a legit champion. This is a very traditional martial artist. He's a very respectful guy. When he lost in that non-title fight to Asakura, he was like, I got to vacate this belt too. So I have a lot of respect for him, man. I really like Horiguchi, bro. I'd love to see him fight Figueiredo. Imagine that fight. That right now is actually, well, besides Moreno, because Moreno should get that rematch, no doubt. Besides Moreno, Marcel, is that the best fight they can make at flyweight right now in the world?
I definitely think, but can he still make 125, you think? Because now 135 bantamweight, right? And RIZIN. So if he can, I'd love to see him, man. He's always been must-watch TV for me in the UFC when he was. I really liked him. I thought indeed that the DJ fight was a little bit too early back then. Yeah. But I mean, if you see what he did after the UFC, after he gone from the UFC, like you said, I mean, he only lost to Asakura, and he avenged that loss today. So pretty much amazing performance as well. Well done. And let's see what's happening with him. And I really hope he maybe comes back to the UFC, but I don't know what the UFC wants to pay him. That's a big problem with definitely now his star as RIZIN, literally RIZIN Bellator champion. So
I heard he's getting paid well there too, from what I've heard. I don't know if they released salaries, but I remember when he signed, they said it was like a lucrative deal. So, and especially with sponsorships and stuff, he's fighting close to his family too. So it makes sense for him to stay there. But truthfully, and this is me being ignorant right now, I don't really know the other contenders in this division. Cape was the guy, obviously, but he's in the UFC now. I'd love to see Horiguchi join Cape in the UFC. And quite frankly, Asakura too. But that's me being a selfish UFC North American fan. You know what I mean? The fans in Japan are like, keep him here. We love him. I don't want to go through the whole card because we didn't see it, but I did hear about the tension fight. He won a decision in a kickboxing bout. It wasn't an MMA fight, though. Takitori Gomi, he also won his fight by majority decision. I don't know, again, if that was an MMA fight. I think it was a special rules fight or something.
Exhibition fight, only standing.
Yeah, exactly, because he's got no ground game, as we know. Kai Asakura's brother actually did knock out Satoshi Yamusu on the main card. So that was a nice win. Those Asakura brothers are both beasts, man. And then the other fight that was worth mentioning is Ayaka Hamasaki defeated Miyu Yamamoto. So, okay, this was me a few years ago. I could have been an ignorant guy like those guys on that podcast, but I wasn't. I actually went and read about these fighters. I knew Hamasaki because I've seen her in Invicta, and I know that she fought Ham a few times. I'll be honest, I didn't really know who Yamamoto was, which makes me sad because I should have known that. I didn't realize she was Kid Yamamoto's brother. I should have clued in, Marcel. But not only that, she's 46 years old, and apparently she lives in Toronto, where I live, and she coaches wrestling at York University, which when I read that, I was like, are you kidding me? Like, how did I not know this stuff? So there's so much MMA going on around the world. It's so hard to keep it track with everything. But, in this case, Hamasaki, she's 38. When I was reading Hamasaki, I'm like, whoa, she's 38. I can't believe that. Then I see the other woman's 46 herself. I go, no way she's going to win. And she gets submitted with a head and scissors choke in the first round. So Hamasaki, she's 105 pounds, if I'm not mistaken, right? So don't think she'd ever come to the UFC, but maybe she goes back to Invicta, Marcel, fights a little bit, because she had a nice run there. Like, she beat Frey twice, actually. Iberica Bercio was the champion there.
I mean, why does the UFC not just add the atomweight division? I mean, listen, man, no disrespect to the 145ers, but who's interested in the 145ers in the UFC? I mean,
I know.
There's not even a ranking over there for the 5 fighters they have on the roster for 145. So, I mean, if Nunes defeats Anderson, it's done. It's pretty much done. So, I don't know what they want to do, but I love to see 105, man. I mean, you got also in the UFC, you got Watterson, who would maybe finally can get to her normal actual weight where she's strong. Loma Lookboonmee would be perfect for that division. I mean, Zapitala, the Invicta champion, would be perfect add to that. So, and like you said, Hamasaki, and even Sohei Ham. And Sohei Ham, in my opinion, got robbed twice in the UFC in the last 2 fights. So, I mean, would be perfect. Why not? There is interest for that. And I think it's much more competitive than the 145 division the UFC has now.
Yeah. It's funny. I actually did, I was talking about the article I did the other day, and I went through all the divisions and basically picked out unranked fighters from every division. I couldn't do it for 145 because there was no one in the rankings.
Yeah.
But I did actually pick Lookboonmee at 115. I think she was my fighter to watch for. I love her. So, I think she'd be great at 105. You're right. Watterson, obviously. I'm not going to go and bang on this drum for 105 because truthfully, I don't know if UFC fans will like it because of the lack of finishes normally. So I don't know if they'll want to watch that division. It took a while for them to get into flyweight, right? But I'd rather watch it than 145. Go ahead.
Yeah, you know what it is, Adam. I always got the thing with is it? Oh man, what the fuck's going on?
What happened?
The thing is, many fans like it's not selling or it's not good. But I'm like, put it on a card that sells. Put it on a card with fighters that will get the views, and give these girls or whatever guys at flyweight, give them the respect they deserve. I mean, if you think a fight doesn't sell, but it's a good style matchup, a high quality fight, why not put it on with a fight will sell? You got for example, you got some guys like a Nico Price will always draw views because he's an entertaining guy to watch. Tim Means, for example, in that same division, you got the Mike Perrys, those kind of guys, and the welterweights who always will bring the heat. You can put them on a card, and you can put a fight what's stylistically beautiful to watch, but not for the casual fan on that same card. And then it will still get the views because the people will want to watch that fight. Or you got these people who are gonna like that fight will be around 9 p.m. I'm going to go 5 minutes before 9 p.m. I'm going to check it, and then I'm going to watch it, But many people will just put it on and watch it, I think. So that's a solution. That's my opinion. But,
Yeah, like I said, I'd rather watch 105 than 145, which I just don't think is a competitive division. And I understand why they brought it in because they had Cyborg, they had Nunes, they had those big fights. I don't think it's necessary now. Just looking at the rest of the card, I mean, there's a few other guys who are notable fighters, like Ulka Sasaki, former UFC fighter. He won his fights. Minowa actually got injured and lost his fight. Minowa, man, Hideko Tokoro won his fights. Naoki Inoue won his fight too.
Those two
he was in the UFC for a while. What the hell happened to him?
Sasaki and Inoue are also two horrible cuts. Honestly,
yes.
I mean, Inoue didn't he lost to Schnell in a split decision?
I'm looking at he beat this guy Carl John Thomas, and then he lost the split to Max Schnell and got released. He lost to Sean Shorty Rock Chantella in CFFC, and since then won 4. But he's only like 23 years old, so that was a very weird cut.
I think I scored a fight for Inoue against Schnell. I'm gonna. Can you check MMA decisions?
I can. Yeah, let me do it.
I want to see what. Maybe I'm not on there. I only do MMA decisions since earlier this year. So, but I want to see what other people did.
Sure, let me pull it up here. Was it Schnell, right?
Yeah.
Schnell. 1 sec. Yeah, I mean I don't think my score will be here either. Let's see here. Schnell defeats Inoue. Let's see what people said.
It was early morning card for you guys, so maybe not many scores.
Yeah, that was the Cowboy and Edwards card. I think I did watch it live, but yeah, I'm just looking at It was split. It was really just split down the middle, basically. I just want to get this comment from Kevin. He says, "Happy New Year's, guys. Welcome back, Marcel." Yeah, man. Big man Marcel, Mr. Marcel Dorff, joining me again on the podcast today, and we love having Marcel on to give his thoughts on mixed martial arts. So, anything else with RIZIN, or you want to move on now?
No, I can't say too much about it because I only saw the main event. I know who fought, I know the results, but I can't say too much because I haven't seen it, man.
Yeah, I mean, the time is just different for both of us.
Yeah.
I mean, you're in Netherlands, I'm in Canada. It's just different. Okay, I think it's a good time now to get to the awards, and then we'll do news and fight announcements after, Marcel. We'll go to your page after, too. But let's start with news, and just quickly, I want to pull this up, and I won't leave this on the screen when we're talking about it, but I do want to pull it up here. So I did an article for MMAratings.net. It's my 2020 year in review, and I went down through all my picks for a bunch of different awards. There was 10 different awards in this article, so it'd be cool to go through it with Marcel here. And we'll start with Male Fighter of the Year, Marcel. It's a no-brainer for me. Listen, I don't want us necessarily to have the same picks, but there will be some picks that we have the same. I'm not sure who you're picking here, but I have to go with Davis and Figueiredo. For me, it came down to Figgy and to Kevin Holland. I love Kevin Holland. I think I'm Kevin Holland's biggest stan. I really do. But he didn't really fight any highly ranked competition for the most part, whereas Figueiredo was fighting elite guys. He beat Joseph Benavidez twice. He beat Alex Perez. He beat Brandon Moreno. That's a fighter of the year right there, Marcel. So in my opinion, he's easily the male fighter of the year, and overall, he's the fighter of the year too. What do you think?
Oh man, that's great because I had the exact same explanation why I had Davis and Figueiredo as
you picked him too, okay?
Yeah, but for me, Kevin Holland would have been second as well. And the sucky thing is, Gilbert Burns could have been a male fighter of the year, but he didn't fought against Usman because of they pushed that fight back, and it's still not done. So. Yeah, he could have been the fighter of the year, but it's Figueiredo. And like you said, for me, a big thing is competition. The competition quality he fought is much higher than Kevin Holland. And there's no disrespect to Kevin Holland, but the best guy Kevin Holland fought was Jacare. And Jacare wasn't even ranked right now. He was ranked, but he's been taken out of the rankings because he went to light heavyweight. But that is Kevin Holland's best win. And Figueiredo's best wins are against Benavidez twice, Moreno, and Perez. And I rank Perez and Moreno very high as well, just like Benavidez, obviously. So that's why Figueiredo is also my pick for male fighter of the year. And also let me compliment you on the picture you've chosen for female fighter of the year. It's a beautiful picture.
You see it, eh? Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I didn't choose that. My editor Michael did, so I'll give him credit on that. But yeah, for female fighter of the year, I went with Valentina Shevchenko. Everyone's picking Amanda Nunes, but I felt like Valentina's a step ahead because she fought twice. Amanda fought once. Weili Zhang fought once. And Weili Zhang's fight was incredible, but she fought once. Valentina fought twice. She beat Chukagian. She beat Jennifer Maia. I don't think it was a strong field this year necessarily, but I would go with a little bit with Shevchenko compared to the other ones. What do you think?
So I had actually more fighters on my list for this, and there were no champions actually.
Oh, nice.
So I went with I had 3 choices, and it could have been or Lauren Murphy, who did very well this year. I didn't pick her, by the way. Yan Xiaonan, the Chinese fighter.
I really like her. I really like her, man.
Yeah, she's great as well, but I also didn't pick her. I went with Mackenzie Dern, man.
Oh, nice pick, dude. Great pick, yeah.
Yeah, I think Mackenzie Dern has done so well after her loss against Amanda Ribas. Her striking is getting better as well, in my opinion. Yeah, her BJJ is amazing. We all know that. And she did very well, man. And she picked up, I think, 3 wins. She picked up wins against Verna Jandiroba, Randa Marcos finish, and Hannah Cypher's finish. So, yeah, I'm went with Mackenzie Dern.
That's a great pick. I'm huge on Mackenzie Dern. I'm extremely high on her. Like, I know Cole is too when he does the podcast with me. I love Mackenzie, man. Been a fan of her since before she was in the UFC, when she was in Legacy, when she was just grappling. So I really like her a lot, and I think that's a really good pick, Marcel. I want to get Kevin's comment here. He said, I was looking at Gaethje's UFC career and noticed something. He has 8 fights. Other than Khabib, who retired afterwards, Poirier is the only guy to win his next fight after Gaethje. Gaethje steals souls, and Poirier is so underrated criminal. I agree with both these comments. I'm pretty sure you do too. All right. Yeah. Knockout of the year. Listen, like, there's a lot you could pick, but I still got to go with Buckley because I've never seen that before. That's why I'm picking it. I've never seen a guy in MMA catch a kick, spin around, and land a spinning hook kick. Not only that, I got to be completely honest. I was so high on Kasangane. I was convinced he would win that fight after seeing him on Contender Series. Like this, I'm still high on him, Kasangane. I think he's a good fighter. I was really shocked when Buckley landed that kick and knocked him out. So that's really my pick. And I know that it's an easy pick and everyone's picking that, but because I've never seen it before, that's why I'm picking it. So what do you think?
Yeah, same. I listen, man, it was a beautiful knockout, but I absolutely hated it because it was against Impa, and Impa is such a nice dude, man. Couldn't be a nicer guy. And even after the fight, he's like, man, amazing job. Great to share the cage with you. I mean, who would have said that, after getting knocked out like that? That was a highlight reel knockout we're going to see for years from now on. And 100% that one, man. It was a beautiful knockout. It was a great performance by Buckley. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Buckley on this one.
I'm gonna pull it up here. I want to watch it again. I want to watch it. Let me see if I can get it. I gotta find a GIF of it. Unless you have a GIF somewhere hiding. I think I got one here. I think I found one. Let's watch this. All right, let me pull it up here. I mean, it was so good. Like, I've never seen it before, right? That's why I'm picking it. And again, it's an easy pick. Can we see it? Yeah. Right here. Woo!
You know what makes it even more beautiful? That he didn't follow up on anything.
That's why, you know what? I respect him. Like, and I'll be honest, like, I'm a huge fan of Dan Henderson, but when he didn't, when he followed up on Bisping and that unnecessary shot, and I understand bad blood, I don't like seeing that stuff, man. That was such a great knockout. Like, I understand, dude, I get it. It's a sport where guys literally, like, your job is to beat the shit out of the other guy. I get it, but you got to have some respect because it is martial arts, right?
It's comparable to Askren Masvidal,
Yes, that was so unnecessary too. And I understand he didn't like him, but it just didn't need to happen, I like those guys that will stop that last punch before the ref jumps in when it's a guy gets KO'd. And there's a lot of examples of that. Anyways, okay. Submission of the year. There's some good ones. I don't think it's good as last year. By the way, I was talking about the World MMA Awards with Tom on Monday. How did Matt Schnell or what's his name? Bryce Mitchell's submission not win last year? I don't understand. But anyways, as far as this fight goes, this year goes, I went with Khabib and Gaethje because of the significance, because it was a main event, because it was a title fight, because quite frankly, we've never seen Gaethje get dominated like that in the mat. And we knew Khabib had a ground game. Obviously, we've seen it throughout the years, but the way he transitioned to that submission was unbelievable with that triangle choke. Went from armbar to triangle. And that's another thing I want to bring up. He said, I didn't want to break his arm because his family was there, so I switched to a triangle and choked him out instead. That's the submission of the year for me, Marcel. What do you think?
Yeah, it was a beautiful submission. Great performance. I pick a really odd one, and that's because we didn't see these many times. CFFC 91. We had Jose Perez submitting Jacob Durham via a banana split submission.
That's a great pick, dude. That's an awesome pick. That happened, last month, I think?
Yeah.
I saw it on Twitter, and I was like, whoa, I didn't see the event live. But, first off, CFFC is a great promotion for regional MMA in the Eastern United States. I know the submission. Years ago in the UFC, Alan Belcher almost pulled it off on Rousimar Paul Harris when they fought. He ended up knocking him out on the ground. Paul Harris, that guy's a funny guy. But I've seen that's really the one time I've seen a guy attempt it, but I've never seen him finish it. So that's an amazing pick, Marcel. Great pick. And you know what? yes, I am picking a lot of UFC stuff, but let's be completely fair to me. There wasn't that many other events going on this year, and Marcel is a huge fight connoisseur. He's always watching these fights from around the world, so I think that it's great to have him on, give some picks like that off the board. Fight of the year, Marcel. This is a no-brainer. It's Jinh and Yuan. I mean, there's some other good fights. Dan Hooker and Poirier was incredible, and Figueiredo Moreno was amazing. There's a lot of good fights. Actually, I want to plug another article. I didn't post it yet, but MMAOddsbreaker.com. I'm going to post it today, later on. The 10 most overlooked fights of the year. So I went through every card again. I've been doing this like the last 2 weeks. Every card, no main events, no title fights, nothing that won fight of the night. Just 10 underrated fights of the year.
Can I give one?
Yeah, absolutely. Go for it. Let's see if I was on the list. Yeah. It might have been. What was
Spike Carlisle against Billy
It was on my
Campbell.
list. It was number 3 on the list.
100%, man. I mean, how do you not give that one fight of the night?
It was, dude, it was an insane fight. The Quarantillo fight, right? Yeah. Yeah, it was an insane fight. It was on my list. Is there any more you had, by the way, actually? I don't want to spoil my list, but was there any more you had?
There was one, but there was on the Kelleher against Asher.
Because it won fight of the night, so my rule was no fight of the night.
There was another one on that card that could have been fight of the night that didn't get it.
Oh, was it? Okay, hold on. Let me pull it up here.
Yeah.
Because I went through every card and I did look at all the fights, but again, I want to have some rules because if I would have just picked all the fight of the nights. The fight you're saying on that same card with which card again, Marcel? The one with Azure? Oh, okay.
Azure Kelleher card.
Yeah, that one fight of the night. What was the other good fight in that card? I don't know. I mean, there was
I think Morales Benitez.
Yeah, that was another one that was. I was thinking about it, but I didn't put it on. But yeah, okay. Here's some other ones. Actually, you brought it up. I mean, I'm obviously going off on a tangent here because actually, you know what? Before I get into the top 10 overlooked, what was your fight of the year? I want to get your pick on it first.
Same JJ against. I mean, 5 rounds of crazy low kicks, punches. It went on. I mean, if you had another 5-minute round, they probably would have gone for another 5 minutes. It was a crazy pace, amazing fight. By far the best women fight I ever saw, and that's not even overreacting to anything or recency bias. That really was the best fight I saw. Quality-wise, the champion against one of the best. I mean, the current champion Jinh against basically still for me the strawweight greatest of all time so far in the UFC. Joanna, she is not the greatest at this moment, but nobody has surpassed her legacy so far, in my opinion, at strawweight in the UFC. So that was amazing high quality fight, and 100%, man. That's the fight of the year.
I agree completely. I just searched up my old tweets just to see what people were saying. I want to put this one up here. Might as well throw it up. All right, share screen, Twitter. Jinh versus Joanna was like Hendo versus Shogun and Jones versus Gus. Amazing 5-round back and forth wars where you have no idea who's going to win the fight. I thought it was an amazing fight. I did actually think that the decision was correct. I did actually score for Jinh. Very, very close, but the damage she did to the face of Joanna, you have to take that into account. So I think that they got the decision right. It was amazing. I actually remember watching it myself. My girlfriend was with me. It was one of those pay-per-views that was really late. She was like, I really want to watch Adesanya fight Romero. And she actually ended up falling asleep before that fight, which I don't think she missed anything because that fight was garbage. But she watched this one. She's like, holy crap. This fight was amazing. It was an amazing fight. And it's a no-brainer. But yeah, just getting back to the overlooked fights. Again, the article is going to come out in a couple hours on Oddsbreaker. Game where it says Carlisle walking for the belt. Oh, yeah, in the first round. He turns his back. He almost gets knocked out. Don't do that, guys. If you're going to fight, don't do that. Okay. So I just did it chronologically because I don't know. It's hard to rank them. There's so many good fights. But so actually, there weren't that many that were on the list from like early before the COVID-19 pandemic. Most of them were May on. The first one was from UFC 249. It's a guy you brought up earlier in this card, Marcel. It wasn't fight of the night. It wasn't a main event. Vicente Luque versus Nico Price 2. That fight was just a fucking war. And like I said, Nico Price could lose 5 straight fights, and I think they would keep on the roster. This guy's a nutcase. Remember that picture? Yeah. I got to pull the picture up. Marcel, like that was a great fight, right?
Yeah, 100%. That he was like that where he was like that, making that weird face.
Yeah, I'm gonna do it right now. I'm gonna pull it up right now.
Yeah,
dude, it was so good. Like the guy is I love him. I love this guy. Look at this face.
Yeah.
Like what a beating he took. But yeah, I love the dude, man. He's unbelievable.
Do you have Kai Hansen against Cory Mckenna on that list?
No.
No,
I thought
you didn't like
Frey more so. I thought that was a more like. Don't get me wrong, McKenna was a decent fight. I thought the decision was terrible, by the way. I thought that
I
was like 30-27. That's crazy.
I had a 30-27 for Hansen.
Round, right? Yeah, I know. I wasn't on my list. I thought about Frey and Hansen because I thought that was a good fight. And I remember doing the article after where that dude he bet like 20 grand on her or something, and I was like, this guy is a nutcase. Who's betting that much on Kai Hansen? And he goes and wins his bet. And I remember that picture from the airport, which was pretty cool. Edward says we all fell asleep during that fight was worst fight of the year. That might be there. Go ahead.
Can you imagine that fight was at 6:37 a.m. over here?
Oh my god, that was fight. It was so frustrating, eh? Like, and who would have ever thought that was going to be Yoel's last fight in the UFC? That I would have never predicted that. You know? Yeah,
it was just a horrible fight.
Some other ones on my list, Marcel. This was a great fight too. And this is why I love having you on, man, because you're going to know these ones. And again, guys, I know we're kind of deviating from the year in review, but that's okay. It's good to have a little break here. Nate Landwehr versus Darren Elkins. That was my next one. How good was that?
Good. How did you score that one? Because I want to know. Because I scored that one different.
I had it for Landwehr 29-28. You had it for Elkins?
I had 29-28 for Elkins. Yeah.
Yeah, it was despite it was the cuts and stuff. That's the damage.
That's
I know. They call it the damage.
That's the sucky thing for Darren, man. He always bleeds in every fight, and if he is in a tough fight, he not gonna get the decision often, I think. But it was close. I didn't have any problem with the 29-28 Landwehr, but I think there was also a 30-27 score. Which
that was some weird scorecards, but it was a great fight. And if you haven't seen that one, go back and watch it. Daniel says, that's so typical. I mean, give us the best and worst fights ever. 100%, dude. We literally had the best and worst fight back to back. That's MMA right there for you, nutshell. I got to get this comment. This is hilarious. He says, Kevin says, I can tell your fiance doesn't watch the podcast because based on my sisters, she would not be happy if you call her your girlfriend. To be fair, she was just my girlfriend during that fight. But yeah, she is my fiance now. I probably should start getting used to that. It's still weird to me, dude. I'm going to be a dad and a husband within the next year or two. This is crazy to me, Marcel. As a guy who just like loves MMA and just a super chill dude, for this to all be happening at once is pretty nuts, man. But I'm embracing it. Next on the list was Quarantillo and Carlisle. I just said like the ground game, the pace was sick. Next up, Devin Clark versus Alonzo Menifield. This was such a good fight. People didn't talk about this fight. If you like clinch work up like against the fence, this would be a fight to watch, and it was exciting. So to me, that was going to be a fight that I had on my list. Brendan Allen versus Kyle Dawkins, another great fight. Absolute war. It wasn't fight of the night because there was another crazy fight on that same card. What card is that? There was another insane fight on the same card. Poirier Hooker. You're screwed. You're not going to win your 50K. Let's go through the rest of them, Marcel, and get your thoughts. Tim Elliott versus Ryan Benoit. That was another great fight with a very questionable decision. I don't know if Elliott should have won that fight. Another great fight. This was a beating, but it was a great fight to watch. Casey Kenny versus Hailey Alatang. Obviously, the fight with Nathaniel wouldn't be on here, but it won fight of the night, so it wouldn't be on the list. The fight with John Castaneda was actually another really good fight, too, from Nathaniel Wood. He's just an exciting guy. Both these guys, I love them both. But, yeah, the Alatang fight, I mean, that dude, did he have a body armor on or something? Like, I don't understand. He got kicked in the body that much and didn't get KO'd. Another one that you're going to like this one, Marcel. I mentioned this one. Tagir Ulanbekov versus Bruno Silva. That fight was so good.
It was very good, indeed. Yeah.
And it was a curtain jerker, so no one really talked about that much. But it was a great fight. Another fight, I love this fight. It wasn't his actually. He was on. I did a list of the most the best unranked guys heading into next year, and Sean Strickland was at the top of my list. I don't know how he's not ranked in the top 15. I'm very high on Sean Strickland. The fight with Jack Marshman, where he's talking to him and talking shit during the fight. How good was that fight, Marcel?
Yeah, that was very funny indeed, man. And by the way, we got to give a huge props to Sean Strickland, man, how he came back. That last fight he won against Brandon Allen. I mean, Brandon Allen is good, man. I mean, he is a really good talent from Rufus Sport. He is now at Sanford, I think, for his last camp. But he's really good, man. I'm also really high on Brandon Allen. So the Strickland has always been like he is against the top 15, but just not. And then he had an accident, right? A bad accident.
He was out for 2 years with after a motorcycle accident where basically destroyed his knees. The fact he's come back is incredible. I've always been really high on him. I also really like him at 185 instead of 170. It's just further proof. You don't need to cut a ton of weight to be good in this game. This guy just has good skills. His boxing is like some of the best in the division, and his ground game is really underrated. So I'm super high on this dude, man.
He's very entertaining to watch. His only not entertaining fight I can remember was against Tom Breeze at UFC 199.
That fight was so bad. It was such a bad fight.
That fight was the only fight that sucked on that card.
I mean, he's had some bad fights. The fight with Usman on the DC and Johnson card, that fight was bad too. So he's had some bad fights, but he's a pretty exciting guy in general, and Daniel Edwards is fair play.
I mean, who has a good fight against Usman?
No one does, really. No one looks good against him, you know? Except for Covington. I was at that fight. That was a crazy slugfest. Crazy. Because you couldn't take him down, so they had to stay standing. Last on the list in my top 10 was Parker Porter versus Josh Parisian. We got to give a shout out to the big boys, Marcel. Me and Marcel are the heavyweights here, and we got to give a shout out to the other heavyweights. That fight was crazy. First off, I was surprised that Porter actually won that fight. I thought Parisian would win. The fact that it went 15 minutes, it was crazy. Here's the other thing. It didn't win fight of the night. Because you know why? Dana White was watching the Mike Tyson fight at the same time. That's why it didn't win fight of the night. I'm serious. He said he was on his other computer.
Okay, I didn't even know, man. But that card had some odd winners. I think I went 3-8 picking that one. So I remember that it was like I got that whole main card wrong, and I think for the last event I also got the whole main card wrong. So what am I even doing here? You know,
it's tough, man. dude. We try our best. You know what I mean with the picks. Like we put our research in. Like listen. Me and Marcel live and breathe the sport, you know what I mean? Like, but at the end of the day, like you can do as much research as you want, Marcel. It's up to the two competitors in the cage to decide on the outcome of the fight. That's what it comes down to. And as far as that last card, that was one of my worst cards of the year. Let's move on from it. And just a really, really quick, some honorable mentions I had. I had Andre Fili, Charles Jourdain, Davey Grant, and Martin Day, which was a great fight, a great knockout in the third round. Shogun versus Little Nog 3. That was a really good fight. Ed Herman versus Mike Rodriguez, the controversy aside, that was a really interesting fight to watch. And then Alex Moreau versus Reese McKee was actually pretty entertaining too. So those would be my overlooked fights. And again, this article is going to come out today, but just wanted to go through it with Marcel, get his thoughts on that. Just getting back to the awards, we'll go for a few more minutes here on the awards. I went for event of the year. I actually went with UFC 249. I'm going to pull up this card because this card was just, it was so good. Like it was the first card back. That's why I think it's also a little bit special. Because, we didn't really know what was going to happen. This is the first card back from COVID. Jacare tests positive the day before. We have no idea if this card's going to get shut down or not. You look at this card, Marcel. This card is incredible. Like, look at the names on this card. And I remember when they announced this card, I was like, holy fuck, this card's crazy. Like look at the prelims. Like, you have, like, former champions all over the card. Like, 3 or 4 former champs on the prelims. For me, this was the event of the year. What was yours?
Yeah, amazing card. Too bad, man, for Keith Peterson that he smoked so much, man, before the Cruz fight. I mean, I feel
that
so bad.
That was a good stoppage, in my opinion.
Yeah,
by the way.
I agree, but yeah, me too. 100%. I was just kidding, obviously.
What was your pick?
256, man. Recency bias, maybe. I don't know, but I love that card. That was amazing.
Oh, yes.
I think. Look at it, man. I mean, the main card 100% delivered. The prelims deliver. It was a great card overall. I really enjoyed the card. So that was my card of the year. Pretty weird that it's the last pay-per-view of the year, but that was mine.
No, it's a great pick. I mean, like this card was like, if you look back, I look at the finishes and even the fights that went to decision were exciting to watch, right? So a great pick there from you, Marcel. Breakthrough fight of the year. I feel like this was kind of a no-brainer. I went with Khamzat. I'll be honest. I didn't really know too. I'm pretty sure you were familiar with him before he came to the UFC. I didn't really know, but I don't really watch Brave, I'll be honest. But the week before he came to the UFC, I looked through the card and I watched tape on him, his highlight reel. And that fight where he got the submission on the guy, the rear naked choke, and spits his mouthpiece out, I was like, damn, I love this guy. I love this guy. And now we know how good he is. So he's my breakthrough fighter. Comes to the UFC, 3 wins in like 2 months, sets the record, 2 wins in 10 days. What's your pick?
If you would ask debut of the year, I would have gone with Yeri, by the way, but
great pick.
Fighter.
Great pick. Yeri versus Volkan, yeah.
But breakthrough fighter of the year got to be Chimaev, right? So I agree with that one. I mean, I remember when I saw like John Phillips was supposed to fight. Who was he supposed to fight again on Fight Island before?
Chuck.
Was it the Korean guy?
guy just fought in good. The guy that just looked like Khamzat when he beat him.
Yeah.
That other Khamzat Jr. No, he was supposed to fight. Let's see here. Oh, Dusko Todorovic.
Todorovic, yeah.
He would have got his ass kicked in that fight too.
I was like, this is an awful fight for him. Yeah. And then he got Chimaev, and I was like, this is even worse probably because I know what Chimaev can do. So I was like, I don't know. And I saw like the odds, and I think Chimaev was favored as well. I was like, this is going to be bad. And then you saw the first round. It's just like, this might be even a 10-7 round, this one.
I scored 10-7. I actually did.
Yeah. I mean, that's how bad it was. And everybody was going crazy about Chimaev, but I expected Chimaev to win. So, but the way he won was very impressive, you know?
Yeah.
So, and he did well in the fights against Riz McKee and against Gerald Meerschaert, obviously. So I agree with you, man. I have him also as breakthrough fighter of the year.
And I think, this is a great pick too. Kevin picked Rebus. I think that's a really good pick too. I mean, I think she could be a star in the sport. I really like her. What do you think?
I love her, man. Everybody knows me that I love her. So
I'm pretty sure like every male MMA fan has a crush on her, right? Like,
I mean, the first time when she was what was her debut against Whitmire, right? Yeah. And I saw her at the weigh-ins where she shoved Whitmire and back and forth. And that was already kind of funny to me. She was laughing very hard about it. And then I saw an interview with Nick Baldwin, I think, with her. And after that interview, I was sold. I saw some fights of her in Brazilian scene, but I haven't seen her debut in the UFC yet, but I was already sold. She has such a good personality, and her fighting style is great as well. So I agree with Kevin, man. She got everything to be a star in the UFC.
Let me get Daniel's comment quickly. He says Strickland Allen maybe shows that maybe contender series guys aren't getting developed correctly. Strickland's had some losses, but top opposition. Wonderboy Neil. Yeah, can't rush these guys. Let's go to the next one here. A best fighter outside the UFC. I picked Pitbull. And listen, I understand he only fought once. It wasn't his fault. He was supposed to fight twice. The fight in March got canceled on fight day, I believe, the day after the weigh-ins. And he got rescheduled. He knocked Carvalho out. I just believe, in my opinion, he is the number one fighter outside the UFC right now. And even though he only fought once, he's still at the top of my list. I wouldn't knock him down the list just because it wasn't his fault, COVID-19. So who's your pick?
I agree with you, but I go with somebody else. I go also with a Bellator fighter. I'm going with AJ McKee.
I thought about him too. He's one of the two for me. He's incredible, man. He's amazing.
I really hope I have nothing against Emmanuel Sanchez or whatever. I have nothing against them, but I really hope we see AJ McKee against Patricia Pitbull because that is the fight for Bellator to make, man. Yeah. In that division. That's like the current best one against the new breed, top level guy. And I think everybody wants to see that fight. Nothing against Sanchez. I hope he does well, but that's the fight we want to see, I think.
Yeah, and for me, it was both those guys were right at the top of the list. All right, let's go to some like low lights. Let's do some like stuff that's not as good. What about this one, Marcel? The biggest disappointment of the year. Mine was Conor McGregor. I'll tell you why. There's two reasons. Number one, he fought once. He fought for 40 seconds. And I get it, COVID-19, all that stuff. He could have fought again. He didn't want to fight again without fans. And now they're realizing they need to bring him back in. He's going to fight next month. So he only fought once for 40 seconds against Cerrone. He promised 3 fights. He said, I'm going to have a season. I'm going to fight Nate Diaz. I'm going to fight Masvidal. I'm going to fight Khabib or whoever. He ends up fighting one time. Not only that, but he got in serious issues outside the cage, punching the guy in the bar, the old man. We all remember that was this year. So there was a lot going on outside the cage with him. I love Conor. Don't get me wrong. He's an amazing fighter. But I think it was a disappointing year for him because he's the biggest star in the sport. And for him to only fight for 40 seconds and to get on these other issues outside the cage, to me, he's at the top of the list of disappointments. Who's yours?
The dude challenged Diego Sanchez. I mean, that was also disappointing for me that he really wanted to fight Diego Sanchez.
Oh, that was terrible. Jesus.
Yeah, I mean, and then some journalists on Twitter like, yeah, that's actually a pretty decent fight. I was like, are you crazy? But I didn't really pay too much attention. The biggest disappointment for me this year was referee Chris Tononi. Man, you don't know how many times I've been annoyed by him, by his calls. He had many bad calls in the UFC. The worst one probably Mike
Valiev and Trevor Jones, right?
What? Sorry?
You say Timur Valiev, Trevor Jones? Was that the one you were going to say?
That was awful, but the worst one is Mike Rodriguez against Ed Herman. That's by far the worst one. He stole the win from Mike Rodriguez in that fight. You know, Timo Valiev against Trevin Jones was a worse one. I even can call Dwight Grant against what's that? Mike Rodriguez. Then Dwight Grant against Daniel.
Yes.
Rodriguez.
That was crazy too.
Yeah, Michel Pereira against. He didn't tap. He would have lost for sure, but he didn't tap. I mean, there is something like. You can make a mistake, but you can't make like a trillion mistakes in like 3 months. You know, that's just awful. And I mean, just sucks, you know. And honorable mention, the couple DC and Joe Rogan commentating on a pay-per-view.
Actually, we talked about you saw the podcast. Me and Tom were talking about it. Just like they're getting paid really well to do their jobs. Can they at least pretend that they did their research? At least at least pretend. Like don't just go. Because you're a paying fan, I don't think you want to just watch like a Joe Rogan Experience podcast. You're trying to get some knowledge, right? So
I always get in discussions with people over here in the Netherlands. Are like, what you're talking about, Joe Rogan is the best ever. Listen, according to the Dutch commentary, Joe Rogan is the best ever. Yeah, definitely. But I mean, I always been a big Joe Rogan fan. When I started watching the UFC and when he was commentating with Mike Goldberg, I enjoyed that, you know, and he had some technical breakdowns about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu because he knows about that, you know. But listen, the combination with DC is just awful. You know, it's just I can't listen to it, and I'm not somebody who doesn't have fun in his life or whatever, you know. But I just can't listen to it, man. Give me. John Anik is the absolute biggest professional on that booth all the time. He's the best by far. You know, I love the Felder Fitzgerald combination. It's great.
Love those guys. Great chemistry.
Yeah. Bisping is good as well.
He's good too. Yeah, he's great. I like Bisping too. Yeah.
For example, and even listen, I know many people don't like Dominic Cruz, but his breakdowns are normally good, despite when he said, what did he say? Conor is trying to, you remember with the Khabib fight?
Some of it, I don't know, man. I'm not too high in Cruz. I got to be honest, bro.
I mean, but I don't mind him. But for me, what I always liked the most in the color commentator was Frank Mir. And I mean, I loved him in the WEC. I loved him in ACA. So he is really good, man. And if I was the UFC, I know we have connections with Bellator, but if you want a really good color commentator, and I don't want to, what do you say that? Say the other, like a Felder is great as well. I think Felder should have got the award this year, but man, I mean, Frank Mir is so good, man. He's a very pleasant voice to listen to, and a very technical and good breakdown for viewers as well. So
I agree. Yeah. And, you know, my guy would have been Brian Stan. I was so high on him. I used to love Brian Stan, and he's not doing it anymore. But he was great at technical breakdowns. Also, and I understand he's a kind of guy who's kind of gone off the board now, but I used to love Eddie Bravo back in the day when he would give his scorecard during. I don't understand why they don't have scorecards anymore. It's kind of weird because boxing, every card they have like 3 or 4 people scoring the fight. They don't have one on the UFC block. They should have a score. You know,
Adam, what about Tito Ortiz when he interviewed Seraldo Babalu?
Oh my god! That's bringing me way back in the day. Yeah, Tito was.
That's Affliction, right?
Yeah, I think it. Yeah, Babalu Sabral in Affliction. Yeah. Kevin Scott said disappointment for him was Khabib and Tony being killed one last time, and he just asked him, was it the year again took a point for MVP? I don't. That was last year, wasn't it? When he fought, who did he fight where he took the point away? It wasn't the Ross Houston fight, was it? No.
I can't recall.
I'll pull it up right now, guys. I think it was last year, though, Kevin. It's so hard to remember, man. This year kind of flowed into last year, and the fight was it the Shinzo Anzai fight last year? Was that the one? Or Richard Kiley, maybe? One of those fights. It was last year. I don't think it was this year.
By the way, what did you think about what was that Herzog who took a point away from or was it Goddard against Moreno against Figueiredo? I really liked that.
Jason Herzog, and I'm okay with that point.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. It sucks that it led to a draw. I mean, I don't like draws because I'll tell you why. No one gets paid the win bonus, so the UFC just keeps that money. I'd rather see one guy get the money than no one, right?
That sucks. Yeah.
Also, Kevin says he likes Pat Noltich. I like Pat too, but I mean, listen, he's a pretty controversial guy in some of his comments, man. There's no doubt about it. I want to really just get this really fast, Marcel.
Yeah.
You talk about great commentators, and you mentioned Frank Mir, and I agree. And I also think that Stephan Bonner was really good too. And I'm going to pull up this clip right here. Is it showing? Yep. Now pull up this one, Marcel. Listen to this call, guys. It's a great call.
I hear no sound.
See, I just love that. And Bonner was so excited and stuff. I just love that.
I heard no sound, man.
Oh, you didn't hear it. Sorry, guys. I apologize. It must have just played on my thing. Sorry, guys. My bad. I won't do that again. I didn't know. I actually wasn't sure if sound would work. But anyways, really fast. I want to get to a few other things. We only have 10 minutes left. Worst moment of the year for me was actually Jason Herzog. You brought him up. The fight with Glover, Teixeira, and Anthony Smith. That was one of the worst stoppages, the latest stoppages. And it's not just the rest fault. The corner, too, I think, should have thrown the towel in. So, what's your pick for the worst moment of the year? Is it the Mike Rodriguez fight with Ed Herman?
I would say that one. That really cost somebody a win, and that would have been. Listen, man, Mike Rodriguez is not a guy who is like stacking up wins, but he did well, you know, and that can be a tiebreaker for getting a new contract or not getting a new contract, you know. And thank God he got a new fight with the UFC, you know. So I don't know. I can't recall who he's fighting next, but he got a fight lined up in the next year. So I'm happy. And they should, honestly, man, the commission should at least put that fight in the no contest. No disrespect to Ed Herman, but
I agree.
Yeah.
All right, so let's just get to a little bit of news really fast. I have 10 minutes left, Marcel. We had a lot to talk about today. And we'll go to your page for a few minutes. But again, we can't talk about the fights for too long here. Just want to mention quickly, Khamzat, Chimaev, and Leon Edwards has been removed from Fight Island. The main event now is reportedly going to be Chiesa and Magny, so it is what it is. They want to keep that fight together. So Leon Edwards, again, getting pushed back again, which is nuts. Dana White talked a little bit about Khabib and Conor as well, and he basically said that they want that fight. And the last thing I want to mention, they're raising the price of the pay-per-view to $69.99 American, up $5, which is, I don't know about that. I mean, during a pandemic, you're going to raise the price. I don't know. Any thoughts on those little pieces of news there?
Yeah, I don't like for you guys that you have to pay more for pay-per-view now. I'm happy we can see it here for free, but that sucks, man. I mean, also during a pandemic to raise the price.
I don't agree with that. Yeah, that's. Yeah. Were you going to say something about Edwards? Did you want to say something?
No, not really, man. I mean, it sucks that he's off the card, but yeah, the UFC wants to keep that fight together.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you want to be a main event, make sure you be a co-main event behind Chimaev against Edwards, so you might be the main event.
Yeah. No, I agree. All right, so let's go to your page, Marcel. We'll talk about some fights, but we only have 5 minutes left, guys, so we can't go in depth on them, unfortunately. Maybe a couple of them I'll get Marcel to go in depth, but we'll go through his page. Mr. Marcel Dorfin, what's his? Big Marcel 24. One of the best Instagrams. I don't really use Instagram, I'll be completely honest with you, but you're like the only page I use. I'll be completely honest, man. I'm not some guy who's like thirsty on it all the time. Like I have too much other stuff to do, unfortunately. All right, this fight's really good. But Jerry versus Adesanya, man, great fight, dude. But this is like I feel bad for this guy. Like he just got knocked out by Tyson Nam. Now he fights a technician. This is not going to end well for this guy, is it?
No, I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, no, he's going to probably get finished. Terzano and Alves. I didn't even know these guys were. I didn't know he was in the UFC anymore. Terzano. Actually, I wasn't even sure. I know Alves was on Contender Series, right? Am I mistaken?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I have to look into it, but Terzano was a guy that's I think was a little bit disappointing. I think he won Ultimate Fighter. Didn't he beat Pena or something?
Yeah, he beat Pena in his second UFC fight. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, he's got some promise, but again, I haven't really heard much from him lately. This fight we got to talk about for a minute here. Jan and Izzy. It's official. March 6th, UFC 259. That card also has Nunes and Anderson. Maybe the original plan was, I think, Stipe and Francis, but I don't think they're going to do those 3 title fights. That'll probably happen in April now, if I had to guess. What do you think of this fight, man? I mean, like, I like the matchup, but I just don't understand how they're holding up 2 divisions for a fight that I don't really know if I consider it a true super fight. And I know they will have belts, but what fan was asking for this fight before Dana White talked about it?
I mean, fun fight, but should have been Jan against Glover. You know,
100%. The guy got screwed so hard.
Yeah, I really don't like it because listen, man, I know they are really into that super fight kind of thing, and Scott Coker is as well in Bellator, and I'm really not. I'm right. Like, I really appreciate a champion who cleans out his division, makes a legacy over there, and if you clean out your division, you can go for a title fight in another division when there are no legit number 1 contenders at that time. And there is a legit number 1 contender who is aging right now, you know. So you got to give that guy his shot. Israel could have waited for a shot against Jan. So And let's be honest, man. If Israel wins this fight, they're gonna do Israel against John Jones probably.
Yeah.
So then Glover can wait even more.
They're setting it up for that. Obviously, they want that super fight, but I thought Glover should have got it. He has 5 straight wins. He's 40 years old. Give the old man the title shot, like you said. And here's a good question. Kevin says, with 185 tied up for the foreseeable future, how would you match up the other guys? Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say, but I would assume that Whitaker's in that mix. Vittori's going to be in that mix. There's a few other guys I'm probably forgetting here. I think Costa's got to win his way back to that mix after that bad performance, but there's a few other guys. I got to get this comment too. Hey, Jordan, what's going on, man? He says, Jordan, Stanters, what do you think? This guy at Mayweather wanting to fight Logan Paul. Do you have a chance against Logan? Good comment. Actually, his brother, Jake was the one talking to TMZ today. He's like, this fight's a joke. He's like, it's my own brother, and I think it's a joke. So I thought that was pretty funny. Obviously, that was just a troll comment, Marcel. I'm pretty sure it was directed at you because we all know that you're a huge Jake Paul fan, Marcel. We all know that. Again,
absolutely, man. I have even 3 posters in the back. Yeah, look.
Do you really?
You see?
I can see them all in the back wall.
Yeah, exactly.
Just quickly on this fight, I kind of surprised by the matchmaking here. Cheyanne buys against Kay Hansen. The matchmaking with Hansen is just very strange.
They did the same like with the McKenna fight. I mean, why?
I don't get it. Why are they doing this to her? I don't get it. Like she could lose this fight. This is a tough fight, actually. Yeah. Hansen probably will be favored because Buys has no fights, but Buys is a good prospect too. Her husband, JP Buys, is a good prospect. I'm very, very bizarre matchmaking. That's what I'll say about this one. To be honest with you, I wouldn't be surprised if that fight ended up falling off anyways for some reason. Jinh Frey, Gloria Paula, another fighter who's kind of struggled in Jinh Frey a little bit in the UFC, and Paula looked really good in Contender Series, so that's a good fight. I want to get your thoughts on this one because I know you like these guys. I love both these guys. What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, man, I really like both guys as well. I'm really high on Ankalaev already when he was at the WFCA champion over there. So I know he has 1 loss in the UFC, which will always follow him against Craig.
And
the fight he was probably going to win 30-24.
I didn't tap out with 1 second left, bro. Come on, you can't do that. Like it was bad. It was bad. Yeah. But he's good. He's really good. He's actually quite good. And you know what? That loss that could have ruined his career and just destroyed his confidence. He's bounced back. He's looked even better. Again, we got like 1 minute left to go through the rest of these. So they'll be quick. Kevin Hall and Derek Brunson. I really like this fight. Good matchmaking. Holland deserves a top 10 guy. Any thoughts on this? Because I think Brunson's actually really underrated. Actually,
I agree.
Yeah, they don't appreciate how good he is.
But Brunson's Cisco haircut is underrated as well.
I love this picture you got of him, man. So good. All right, what else we got here? Dalka, versus Isa Fiku. I can't even pronounce his name. But
sorry.
I tried. Fida Fiku. Actually, Fida Kefu. I'm trying. It's tough. Isi Fida Kefu. This is his debut, right, in the UFC. So I've heard some good things about this guy. And then Dalka obviously had his fight fall through. So apologies for mispronouncing the last name. It's not an easy one. Both these guys. I can't wait to hear John Anik and Felder call this fight. It's gonna be a fun one. I'll probably just use their first names. Mike Davis, Mason Jones. I like this Mason Jones guy, man. And I like Mike Davis too. This is an interesting fight. Caceres and Kroom. It's a good fight. I love this picture you got of Kevin Kroom. He looks so fucking high out of his mind in this one. And he just got caught for marijuana, so I have no problem with that, by the way.
Yeah, someone that made that with that picture with Brad Pitt, that Brad Pitt picture, when he's sitting like this. It's a DiCaprio. Who is it?
Thelma, or it's DiCaprio. Yeah, there's also
my bad.
There's one for Thelma and Louise where I think he's sitting on the couch too.
Yeah.
Got this fight rebooked, and then Cape. There's a bunch of other ones, but we don't really have time.
By the way, Fiora was really good, man. I really like that she got signed by the UFC.
Yeah, you like her, so that's good. That's another good signing there. Yeah. Last comment here from one of my guys here, Mr. Gabe Killian, the Al Capone.
What's up, Gabe?
Dude, Gabe's a great guy. I used to love that picture he had on the shirt all those years ago. Marcel, that's it for today's podcast. We don't have any time left, man. Maybe we could talk about MMA for another hour, but maybe I'll get you on next week, Marcel. You tell me, Marcel. Like you guys tell me too. You want Marcel on? Tell me, and I'll message him. Marcel, plug your stuff, man, and the floor is yours.
First of all, thanks for having me again, man. Always a pleasure. And everybody, Happy New Year. Best wishes for 2021. You can find me, Big Marcel24, Instagram and Twitter, and my work, MMADNA.nl, and also on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube.
Awesome, man. And like I said, I want to get you on like way more often in 2020. Thursdays are very open for me. So Marcel, here's the thing about Marcel. He doesn't work full-time in MMA. Obviously, he wants to. He has a full-time job. So that's obviously his priority with his full-time job. But Marcel, you know that we love you here, man. You're always invited to be a guest on my podcast. So Appreciate you coming on, man. Happy New Year's to you. Happy New Year's to everyone who joined us today, who joined us all year. I really appreciate it, guys. Seriously. So you guys can follow me on Twitter at MMAOB. Have an amazing night, guys. I know that people are going to have some parties tonight. Just do it safely. Wherever you are in the world, do it safely, and hopefully get through the last night of 2020 and 2021 is a much better year. Have a great evening, guys. And Marcel, once again, thanks for joining me. Bye.